Hello, I'm Marites Vitug, and this is Worldview. We take a look at global, regional, and national affairs in conversations with officials, newsmakers, and analysts. We are here at the Department of National Defense, and joining us is Defense Secretary Gibo Teodoro. We will be talking about how the Philippines is navigating the challenging security terrain in the face of an aggressive China. Secretary Teodoro, welcome to the show. Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having me, and good evening to all the televiewers. It's nice to be the second time, I think.
Yes, sir, and there will be more.
Oh, sure, sure.
So maybe we'll start with, of course, the hottest topic in our geopolitical situation, that's China. They announced that they were going to build a nature preserve in Scarborough Shoal, and they're very active around the shoal. And in Second Thomas Shoal, they've been quiet for over a year until recently when they did drills, and they even came close to our outpost, BRP Sierra Madre. So what's happening? Has anything changed?
No, I don't think anything has changed, but it's really a manifestation of their long-held plans, held in reserve. I mean, they really plan to take control over the whole area. That's why we really have to be very realistic that insofar as Scarborough is concerned, we have a victory already that says that it is an artisanal fishing ground of Vietnam, the Philippines, and China. You know, we must pursue that victory. On the second end, my job is to really create a deterrent posture as quickly as possible so that our diplomatic toolkit of our policymakers becomes more steady and more meaty. We expect these things to happen, given the fact that our posture has been the firmest in recent years of any administration, and that's not going to change. Now, I'm also glad on the other hand, that China's true intentions are being manifested because they are on a charm offensive, a charm offensive that really is belied by what they are doing here. So that charm offensive is really sinister and insidious and should not be believed. As I've said also before, Marites, that this is a struggle. It will not be resolved overnight, but it will not be resolved by accommodation and appeasement on our part in any case.
So what, you said diplomacy and deterrence.
Yes.
So what can the Philippines do to prevent China from building its nature preserve?
Well, you already have a victory in the arbitral award, which they refuse to recognize. Follow it up. If they keep on refusing to recognize legal proceedings, then, I mean, the Security Council must do something about it to China's detriment. You know, it's not only us who are going to object to this or are objecting. All our allies are objecting to this. Now, that's beyond my paycheck. It's just my 2 cents worth.
So in Second Thomas Shoal, the agreement has been holding for resupply missions. Do you think that this will continue to hold? At least they will not block resupply missions?
I have no way of saying, and I cannot assume that. In my position, I did not enter into any such agreement. That is beyond me. It's for the DFA and the National Maritime Council. It's my job not to assume it and to make contingencies for it.
You've always mentioned that there's a deficit of trust towards China. How can they gain the trust of the Philippines and the Filipinos?
Get out of the area. Simple. I mean, it's 800 kilometers away from their shores. I mean, no self-respecting or self-believing person is doing that. And now, now they're trying to teach us even what the proper path for diplomacy should be. When we were a founding member of the United Nations, the PROC was not. It was the Republic of China, not them. So for them to school us in the proper way, the right path, I think it's like the student teaching the teacher and a student with a D average.
So, sir, let's talk about the shift to external defense. You've talked about this quite often. Operationally, what does it mean when we shift to external defense? That means the Navy is now the frontline
No,
force.
everybody is now going to be retooled to an external defense mission, and that's all the services. No, of course, the Navy and the Air Force gain prominence because you have 2 million square kilometers of aerial and maritime domain to be added to an active mission area. However, the Army still has a very, very vital role in this for deterrence, because deterrence is built in a position of depth. And the internal security role will still not dissipate, particularly if you anticipate that the easiest way for an external threat to compromise a target country is to weaken the internal fabric. So all of these are into the mix right now. But the first thing are the doctrine, strategies, and plans. They're very, very old. Secondly, it's infrastructure. Thirdly, it's also your skill sets, particularly in the information ecosystem. Fourthly, then, comes your equipment, and because of the added area of operations, and coupled with the fact that natural calamities are becoming more violent and frequent, and more unpredictable. When I was in Marawi 2 weeks ago, I found out that 3 deaths in Valencia were caused by a water spout, buhawi, in a creek. So you're seeing these kinds of things. With the new area, the equipment needs to become bigger. And your operating expenditure needs annually become bigger. Now, the question is, can the government afford it?
Yeah. Maybe take from the flood control budget.
Well, that's a one-shot thing. That's not a continuing thing. We still need the continuing expenditures to... And, the flood, one of the major weaknesses also of the Philippines defense ecosystem is infrastructure of our normal arteries. Can our roads and bridges accept heavier loads that the new military equipment need? So the quality of our infrastructure is also a military weakness. Flood control is also another area because it affects our camps, and more flooding distracts from core missions of the armed forces, because then you'll have to devote a lot of resources to non-core missions, no?
Yes, there was even a suggestion to tap the engineering brigade of the military.
I think that's not a good solution.
To help build,
Frankly speaking, I don't think that's a good solution. Troll is like a large-scale mining endeavor. First, you have to know what you are going to do. If you don't know what you're going to do, it's useless. If you're just going to armor this portion of a river or whatnot, it's useless. So what do you need to do? You need a multidisciplinary study. When you start a large-scale mine, the mining design and plan which includes mapping, reserves, tailings processing, costs millions of dollars for the design alone. What more in a major waterway system? You have to get the source, you have to get where it passes, and the dynamics. You need hydrologists, geologists, agronomists, and the like. You need to study it. Once you know what to do and where to do what, then you scope it. I'm sure no single agency can do this kind of work. If I remember correctly, during the time of President Ramos, there was the Agno River Flood Control Project from San Roque Dam down. Up to now, it's not yet done because of changes of administration, priorities change. Because it's big work. Now, our engineering brigades, once this work is scoped, we can help out. But I object to that idea for two things. Rather than strengthen and clean up the primary agencies that are supposed to attend to this, you're asking an agency which is which has a mandate entirely beyond flood control to do it. Are you strengthening the institution or are you weakening it? Military is not a solution to non-military problems. Secondly, our combat engineering brigades, they're put to task now on the quality of our infrastructure alone. They have to attend to that. Thirdly, we are transitioning them to combat engineering brigades, which are entirely different from normal civil engineering duties. Nonetheless, we can help out, but to transfer the mandate to the armed forces is a bad idea. It's just like asking the armed forces to solve political problems of this country.
Which is a bad idea.
Very bad idea.
So, Secretary, maybe just one small question on the Army. I mean, they're the biggest division. How do you retool? I mean, to what direction? How do you retool the Army?
First thing with the Army is to convert our light infantry divisions into motorized infantry divisions.
Meaning?
Meaning to say, equip them with mobility, because they need the new rules of warfare say that static formations are sitting ducks. So they have to be mobile, even for humanitarian assistance and disaster response. Secondly, the size of the armed force is too small. It's only 162,000 for 7,600 islands and 2 million square kilometers. We are the second smallest armed force to population in ASEAN, next to Singapore, where,
They only have 6 million people?
And a lot are not really reservists, but active duty reservists with force replication. Secondly, they must have greater domain awareness, skills, and thirdly, their special operationalized skills should be honed up. So the first thing for the Army to do is to secure also the perimeters of multi-purpose bases, like Joint Army Air Force bases, Joint Air Force Naval bases.
Okay.
Secondly, it's for internal security. You cannot take them away from that role. At kulang pa nga. For example, Palawan will need 1 division of Army soldiers to hold the area. Thirdly, most importantly, we have to motorize them. There's no room anymore for light infantry divisions. We have 1 mechanized division, but this is for the armor division. So the first rule is, number 1, we phase in an increased size. Number 2, the equipment fill-up of our divisions should be completed. And number 3, the new phase is to motorize them.
So are these all in your modernization program?
Yes, they are.
All of these
They are.
equipment? How about the use of drones and
They are there, but drones are not substitutes for your core core capabilities. For example, a drone is an extender for a ship, but it will not substitute the function of a ship 100%. There are uses for it, particularly if you have a land border. No?
Like in Ukraine and
yeah,
Russia.
it's a 25-kilometer kill zone, so I mean, there are no human beings really living in there. However, they are not the end all and the be all. You still need your core capabilities.
How about unmanned surface vessels? Aren't these
It's same thing. Same thing. Unmanned surface vehicles will not substitute your gray ships.
shouldn't there be a mixer?
There should, and that is by design. But the thing is, for our gray ships, there are about 8 arriving from pre-ordered. What do we need for these gray ships now? To make sure that they are fully equipped with deterrent capabilities. And secondly, most importantly, we have a place for them to be maintained and put. We do not have a working naval dockyard.
Not even Subic, sir.
No, Subic is not a naval dockyard. That is a commercial export processing zone. That's why we are building the Philippine Naval Dockyard in Cagayan de Oro, in the inutil portion of the Phoebe deck.
So, sir, you also spoke about not to make too long-term plans for modernization.
Oh yes, it becomes obsolete.
Exactly. So you were saying we can learn from Ukraine. What lessons can the Philippines learn from Ukraine?
Let's say, for example, drone technology and the other unmanned systems, they have to retool and change in the average every 3 months, even faster at times, because of artificial intelligence technology by the opposing side. Secondly, all manufacturing is hidden and mobile. Thirdly, even hospitals are not sacrosanct. Warfare nowadays does not follow international humanitarian law. And we have to be ready to defend against that.
Sir, there's a school of thought that says that the Philippine military should already do planning for asymmetric warfare, like should have drone factories, and more unmanned we have 1 maybe or 2 USVs, unmanned surface vessels.
Yes.
Do you agree with that school of thought that we should be more asymmetric now?
We should be more asymmetric, but there's also a balance between core and asymmetric. And the asymmetry, sometimes is even more expensive.
Than the conventional?
Yeah, because asymmetry is a very dynamic thing. The more asymmetric you are, the more detectable it becomes, and it's a daily battle of detectability versus asymmetry. But another area of asymmetry which we are really have an edge, except for the means to propagate, is information operations. What we lack are the outlets for the truthful information that we have. Our opponents have a major advantage in buying bandwidth and band space. So it drowns out the messaging that we produce. That is why, on my own and other people in the department and in the AFP, we actively engage in international fora to spread the message. Because if we rely on our own social media capabilities, then we get drowned out in the international band sphere.
So is this part of improving cyber warfare, cyber defense capabilities? This information is, as you said, is one of the really biggest threats from
Yes.
China. So countering this would require also upgrading cyber defense capabilities.
That is already in here. Actually, that's why we have entered into general secrecy of military information agreements. If we are not vetted for it, we would not be allowed to engage. So this is the only department that has been allowed to engage other countries in this kind of level. No? And it's not merely the equipment, but also the hygiene that everybody has within us. For example, private emailing, engagements, so forth and so on, document security, and the like, to the hardware. The hardware is a very, very touchy issue because our national networks are compromised because of China.
Huawei,
Yeah,
Huawei
definitely.
technology.
Yeah, yeah.
So shouldn't this be a whole of government approach?
It is. It is
But
basically.
led by the Department of National Defense?
No, for us, because we need to engage with allied partners, it is a limited ecosphere. No? But there is a cyber committee that has the mandate for the whole of government cyber resilience. But nonetheless, you also need dedicated networks, even though you have a national network. That's part of resilience. Even in a bank, you have several flows of information for resilience.
Sir, let's go to diversification of our security relations. I mean, you've been very active. We've signed VFAs with Japan, New Zealand, and Canada is coming up soon.
Yes.
And I think in the drawing board are France and the UK. Can you
Yes.
talk about what these VFAs or RFAs will mean for our deterrence, including from these European countries?
It will allow us to train together. For example, with the UK, it's not merely their participation in multilateral maritime activities and to train with our ground troops, but I want the Army in particular, they have smaller units and more mobile units, and it's a good paradigm for the Army to follow. And their small unit tactics and deployment are top notch. So that is a learning point. But underpinning all of these arrangements are a commitment really to preservation of the international order against revisionism led by China. There's no hiding it anyway. Secondly, it's also the protection of UNCLOS. And thirdly, in the case of New Zealand, for example, we're both small nations. And the smaller nations have to band together. That's why we've been engaging very, very deeply with Lithuania, Estonia, Finland, Sweden, Denmark.
Are we going to have VFAs with these countries you mentioned, sir?
I really don't know, although we do have extensive exchanges of information with them. No? Even with Poland, which really deems China a threat because of joint exercises between Russia and China in its border. And the Czech Republic, which is also a small country that is subject to Russian revisionism of its past. And yesterday, if you were watching the international news, Moldova rejected a
Yes.
pro-Russian party.
Sir, let's look at the U.S. When Secretary Hegseth came, he said that Indo-Pacific will be their priority theater. So what do we expect Washington? What role do you expect Washington to play here? And what do they expect from Manila as well in this priority theater?
Well, for us, they expect us to be equal partners in the Mutual Defense Treaty also. And they respect our constitution and our laws as we do theirs. However, we do see threats of expansionism on by a common actor, and that is no other than China. And not only the US, but also Australia as far as it is, because the South China Sea route is really important for them as it is for us. Canada too, and the rest. Basically, I mean, it's not that we're siding with one against the other, but there is no other country that's grabbing our territory in such a way as China is. So they're calling themselves out by their egregious actions in the West Philippine Sea. It's sui generis, you know.
Sir, you mentioned all these European countries. When Macron spoke at the Shangri-La Dialogue, he called on Southeast Asian countries to partner with Europe, France and the rest of Europe, as a coalition of independence so that we don't need to choose between either the US or China. Sir, what's your take on that?
No, I was there.
Oh,
I
yes,
was there.
yes.
And the reaction of the Southeast Asian countries was that Europe and the United States need to work together. There is no siding here. There should be unity of purpose, and that purpose is upholding international law against Chinese revisionism. Because what Macron said as a premise to his statement was that we cannot have any double standards if we say that it is permissible under international law for Russia to annex territory by force of Ukraine. Then what about Taiwan or what about the Philippines with China? How can we make distinctions? So for us, we were happy that there was a convergence. And these are the ASEAN defense ministers. We are happy that there was a convergence between Europe and the United States there. Although those dichotomies were stressed, the underlying tenor of the speech of President Macron and Secretary Hegseth was that there needs to be more cooperation.
Do you expect this, sir, under the Trump administration?
I think there will be no choice because of the what the threat actors are doing. The basic premise also there was that, hey, we're defense ministers here. We are not foreign affairs ministers. We know the bad things that are happening, and we know who the bad actors are. So in that sense, everybody agreed that there really cannot be too many distinctions insofar as the defense aspect is concerned. And I think President Trump has already received a rebuff from Vladimir Putin, and so...
Sir, next year the Philippines will be chairing ASEAN, starting late this year. As Defense Secretary, how would you like to steer the discussions on security and defense in ASEAN?
Well, that would depend really. First, I will defer to the theme of the President. Although I have made my interventions in the past two ADMMs quite clear.
Sir, ADMMs
the
for
ASEAN
our audience.
Yes, is the ASEAN Defense Ministers meeting plus, sometimes. I've made my interventions pretty clear that if the ASEAN does not put principles that will govern the South China Sea on an ASEAN basis, then countries will be forced to seek alliances that will protect its own interests. No? And ASEAN, once again, we are faced with younger population that with easier access, with access to information, they demand results in a much quicker time frame. Those are the kinds of interventions that I've been giving. And I've been calling out that if there are no principles and no stands given, then the ASEAN centrality will be defined by others. Like China always tries to lecture us on what ASEAN centrality means. Artfully, but not successfully.
Sir, about defense cooperation agreements with some ASEAN countries, we have one with Singapore.
Yes.
We're negotiating one with Vietnam, sir.
No, we have a defense cooperation agreement
already
with them.
have-
Yes, we do.
Yeah. How different are these from VFAs, and how will this really work? Our defense cooperation with Singapore, with Vietnam.
With
And I think-
Vietnam, our
yeah.
navies have so far maintained a respectful balance, of deconfliction, potential deconfliction between us, because we're both claimant countries. And the major difference, as I've said, is they're not actively grabbing what we are occupying. Now, with Singapore, it's also technology and people-to-people exchanges, and their defense and security information base. Their analytic abilities are top-notch, in this area, which is also what we are trying to introduce into the defense establishment, are critical analytic, multidisciplinary critical analytic abilities. For example, we're trying to tap a cadre of political psychologists, because autocrats don't operate within a framework of...
Political psychologists within the defense establishment.
Yes. So we can analyze what the motivations are of leaders who may be allied with us, or we need those kinds of multidisciplinary backgrounds in order to shape our predictive abilities in the future. Because right now the question is it's a question of anticipation and prediction.
Sir, how about India?
I'll give you an example. Nobody believed that Russia would
Invade
Ukraine, except for very few. Nobody believed that the Iraq invasion would turn out bad. There were some. And one is an ambassador of a foreign country to this country, who I suggest you talk to. He opposed it before. Even in the foray into Afghanistan, he said it was unsustainable. So it's this kind of abilities that you need to guide your defense policy.
Sir, we just had a strategic partnership, elevation of ties with India.
Yes.
So how do you see our security relations further down the road? What specific kinds of cooperation would you like to have with India?
Well, aside from the technological advancements, particularly in space, India is the #2 country in the world with advanced space technology, actually. It's also the unity of purpose in upholding UNCLOS and international law on the Indo side of the Indo-Pacific. And Minister Jaishankar told us this: we fully support the arbitral award. We fully support UNCLOS. As a matter of fact, we entered into an arbitration with a much smaller country, and we lost. We follow it. And I will give you a book later on lessons learned in how Jawaharlal Nehru was taken for a ride by Mao Zedong. Lessons learned on negotiating with the Chinese side.
Okay, sir, that's your Bible today?
No, I have several.
One of your Bibles.
Did I give you a Bible before, the Understanding the China Threat?
No.
I'll give it to you later. Yeah.
So, sir, about Taiwan, it's quite sensitive, our relations, because as one of our editor said it's like an affair that we like to hide. But we're being pushed closer to each other by China. So how do you navigate this sensitive relationship?
Well, for me, I have an EO of the president saying that I'm not allowed to deal with
Yes,
Taiwan.
yes.
However, on disaster risk reduction, how can you not if they're going to donate goods to you? Civil defense knows no politics, knows no. It's like the Red Cross, Secondly, there are a lot of people of the Philippines in there, in Taiwan. And thirdly, the president said if there's a strait conflict, there will be fallouts.
Yes.
And you have to anticipate for this. You are not going to say that you're going to actively engage in one side or the other, but part of the name of the game of any responsible defense establishment is anticipation.
Sir, are there ongoing conversations, informal dialogues between the Philippine military and the Taiwanese?
No.
Not even
No.
under the radar talks?
No.
I mean, anyway, that's maybe a...
No. However, I believe that under the executive order of the president, it's only the Secretary of Foreign Affairs and myself who are prohibited from engaging, but at least in resilience, in trade, in crime.
Yeah.
For example, the SILG can. In technology, DOST can.
Yes,
So at least the people-to-people ties are and the core resilience ties, particularly infrastructure. They have a very, very big cement industry, which can also, and they and of course the obvious, they have chip technology which is unrivaled anywhere in the world.
Sir, now let's look at the D&D. Let's go inward. You said that you were going to streamline operations.
No, not to streamline operations, but
to
make the organization more agile,
yeah.
right size it. It is too small, and to have specialized disciplines and secure motivational career tracks.
So you're already
We have filed the bill already, the D&D transformation law. The civil service rules and regulations will not attract the kind of, and I think it has even been a hindrance to hiring the kind of technology, the kind of expertise that we need. We must also take into account that there are a lot of very, very talented and intelligent specialists who will not survive the regimentation of a career. Unlike us, when we graduated, we were set for careers. The younger generation now want more individual liberties. That is why also we are changing the policy in the armed forces that to enlist or to be commissioned, the maximum age should be 35 years old. Because if you have the maximum age at 26, a lot of people still don't want to commit at 26, and you're going to be losing out.
Sir, you also said before that you wanted a review of all existing defense agreements.
Yes.
So have you erased some? Have you done away with some?
No, we cannot do away with some, but we will just place this in on the table, so
or
to
the
speak.
back burner?
Yes. Particularly those that do not support our position in the West Philippine Sea, and those that are merely seeking to make a quick sale to this country.
Okay. Can you name?
No, I will not name, but they know who they are.
Okay. Sir, you were also the subject of rumors. This is already looking at the more juicy part of your leadership. You were subject of rumors that you were going to resign. There were white papers, etc. So are these true, and how have you hurdled all this?
I'm just doing my job. I'm not here to please people. There will be people who will be displeased. There will be people who are not going to be able to adjust to the new standards. And if this is the way that these things are counteracted, then so be it. The most important thing is the president's judgment of how I am performing. And if he feels that I am performing because I've been really pouring more than 24/7 to this job, not maybe not the physical but the mental, and the thinking of ways, systems, because when you come from the private sector, naturally you're a risk manager. So you really have to each and every action you do, you really have to count the effects on other things, no? Because it's a system. So this takes time. And secondly, I'm a stickler for precision in certain things, and so I can't just let things pass. At the end of the day, it's the president's call. He is the. I'm an alter ego. I will never forget that. I think before there were some cabinet members before or whatnot who thought that they could rise above the source. That will never happen in my watch. Yeah. And secondly, if the country has phenomena, political problems, corruption problems, that's not a military problem. And the military is not a solution to these problems.
Sir, related to the corruption problem, we're seeing the mega corruption scandal arising from the flood control projects and rumors about the military withdrawing support from the president and, all this destabilization. Is there a truth to this? Or
no, I don't think so. Some people are praying for it, but...
you mean the pro-Duterte side, maybe?
I can't say.
Okay.
I can't say where these come from, although some of the very, very few of them have overtly asked for it already, notorious characters. Although the major, and the appropriation of the term retired generals by a very few, I think is an insult to the rest of them who know how to institutionally solve problems. Now, for issues of corruption, I think each and every citizen wants to see accountability and impartiality. If there is any tinge of partiality, favoritism, or protecting anyone, then it becomes a political problem with serious political consequences. But the military is not the solution to that.
Yes.
Never a solution to political problems.
Yes. Sir, maybe just look a little bit at the past, because you were a very young SND during the term of President Arroyo. How different is the environment now, and maybe your views about...
The environment's drastically different nowadays. No, that's been more than 15 years ago or 15 years ago. Then I think the major threat really was the not even the CPP, NPA, NDF, but really it was the MILF separatism, and of course there were already the beginnings of a China problem. Although the policy of President Arroyo then was cooperation with China, of which I diverged, because then I had a policy of cooperating with then Bob Gates, because we saw the potential rise of a blue water Chinese Navy without clear intentions.
So that early, sir?
Yes. Because of the rise of a blue water Navy, although not the artificial island problem, not as overt as that, the rise of a blue water Navy without declaring its intentions was a concern. Secondly, we really had, in fairness to our predecessors, we have a bigger base of equipment to work with, imperfect as it is. Thirdly, on my own self, I was not exposed to the private sector. I didn't know much about resilience. I didn't know much about managing insofar as leading. So now I probably the benefit is I have some management experience already, and particularly in the IT field, because in the not as an IT practitioner, but as an independent director who was tasked to head the IT steering committee of a major firm. And I know the costs and the amount of effort that the whole of management needs, from the top down, needs to devote to resilience.
So, sir, for the final question, we just like to maybe, if you can give us your key takeaways as the DND Secretary during this time of very, maybe, shall we say, unpredictable geopolitics. What are your key takeaways in running the Department of National Defense?
Number one, you have to create an organization, a physical, a people infrastructure that is agile and ahead of the curve. You cannot just begin to plan on day one of a potential conflict. Number two, as much reserves and stores as possible in your inventory is necessary. Thirdly, a lot of government processes are not suited for the armed forces. There should really be a distinction. Fifth, for accountability, I think the Commission on Audit, they should take a look on the Commission on Audit, not in so much as people are concerned, because people will only follow what the rules and regulations provide. But look at our audit code. Presidential Decree 1445 as amended of 1977, when every year in the private sector, generally accepted accounting principles change. Is it in tune with what governance, a 21st century governance requires? Thirdly, our modernization laws and all of these laws are counterproductive insofar as an agile organization is concerned. Fifth, we have to make space on the qualifications of people for those who have the expertise, the ability to engage them, even though they may fall outside your normal civil service criterion. If not, they will just go to the dark side. Let's say a young non-graduate with a gig, or maybe even with a dark past.
A former hacker.
Maybe, yeah. Will you be able to hire him? No. Should you hire him rather than that hacker going to the dark side? I think, yeah. So I think the defense paradigm is not your traditional thing anymore. Even your reserves, that I will fight for the country and go up to the hills. What hill are you going to go up? I mean, you lose your connectivity for 4 hours. Let's see if the young people will. So now it's the name of the game is prediction, resilience, and deterrence.
So on that note, thank you very much, Secretary. What
Thank
a
you.
substantial interview. Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
And before we go, we invite you to download the Rappler app, join the Security and Global Affairs chat channel to weigh in on the conversation. Again, sir, thank you very much. And that's it for today's show. Thank you to our viewers. This has been Worldview with me, Marites Vitug. Till next time.